Good morning, everybody, from a very wet, very windy Dorset. Well, just when you think things can't get any worse, along comes FIFA to extend a ban on our director of football. You couldn't make it up, could you? You literally couldn't make it up. And to make matters worse, you've now got people at the level of Tim Sherwood coming out and saying that Tottenham are in danger of becoming a laughing stock. In danger of becoming? Are you joking? We're already a laughing stock because it's an absolute shit show. I'm sorry, it's a shit show. We are going nowhere fast. So Fabio Paratici is now banned worldwide from football. Tottenham are asking, what does that actually mean? And why didn't you tell us before it happened? Because we kind of put in front and centre to whip the fans up to say, yes, this is what we're going to do for the rest of the season, and we are going to achieve what we're going to achieve. And so far, this season has been a success, whilst having some disappointments along the way. And Christian Stellini and Mason have our backing, and we will get there, and to coin a phrase, make us proud. All whilst thinking about how much more they can put our season ticket prices up to kind of soften the blow, I guess. Be getting Champions League football next season. Come on, that's worth an increase, isn't it? Anyway, so the difficulty now is, what will Paratici actually be able to do? Because if he's banned from football in the kind of role of director of football, but can still be part of the team, then Tottenham potentially could just, they could just call him something else and still let him tell Daniel Levy what needs to be done and who needs to be going after and so on. And Daniel Levy still does it. So it's a bit of a pointless thing. So it kind of says to me that they'd have to get him out of the football club altogether. I am at a loss, to be honest, as to why we are so adamant that we're sticking with this guy, considering that he's causing us a few problems. But let's be honest, when he first came in as director of football, we were all happy. We were like, thank God for that. It means that Daniel Levy's not going to get himself involved in everything, and a director of football will be able to do what needs to be done, to get the right recruitment in, gets the manager and so on. And it's, on paper, it started off well. You're getting a world-class manager in Antonio Conte. You're starting to buy your players early. There's a mixture of young talent and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, he's not been able to move on a lot of the people that we really wanted to move on, so that we got some money for them. They've all just kind of ended up out on loan. And now, because of the loss of Conte, may well all be coming back for another bite of the cherry, which is going to be painful. It's going to be painful. So he's not been that successful in terms of balancing the books, and we'll see how the signings actually do turn out. Because I mean, we can't moan about Kulusevski, we can't really moan about Bentancur. Porro maybe is starting to look like the player that we want him to be. This Udogi, however you say his name, is apparently doing well, and looks to have a bright future. We've heard that before, until they come to the Premier League. So there are some pluses in there, and I still don't think that Richarlison is a dead duck. I think he's got quality. I really do. I think he's been unlucky. He's had some injuries. He's not really had the opportunities and stuff. And when he has had the opportunities, he looks like he's really up for it. But he looks to me like a player that needs to get that goal, that needs to really kick on. And it's a real shame that the goal he had disallowed could have kick-started it, because it was a quality goal given offside when it clearly wasn't. So for me, the jury's still out on Richarlison. I think there's an option in there. Bissouma's another one. I don't think we've seen enough of him. Obviously injuries, so that kind of clouds your judgment on that. So I'm not saying that he's not been a success, and maybe that's why they want to stick with him. Maybe that's why they want him to continue. But it does feel like another problem that we just don't need at the moment as a club. It just feels, a real pain. And then we're kind of still stuck with this issue of what we're going to do about a manager. I know it's clear for the rest of the season, and that buys us some time, and maybe they don't want to rush into anything. But to my mind, we can't go through another 70 odd days without a proper manager, without any clear direction, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's just not good enough. It really isn't, and it does worry me, because without a manager, without a direction, it leaves you open to all kinds of sorts of other issues coming up. I know Kane's only got one more year left on his contract, so what does it mean from that point of view? And Levy may say, no, you're not going anywhere. I'll let you run your contract down to nothing, because keeping you for another season is worth more money. In terms of getting us into the Champions League next season or the season after, than it is to sell you for mega money, considering we got you for free. That may well be the case, but it does add that uncertainty. And when you've got that uncertainty, is the player going to do what he needs to do? And I'm sure he would be in Harry Kane. He's a proper professional, but it does open you up to all that kind of stuff, that uncertainty, especially around players, other players coming back in that have been away, and all those kind of deals. Who do they want? Who don't they want? What style are we going to play? What's their vision? And it kind of impacts, again, it probably won't impact on recruitment, because we've still recruited the way we've recruited, even with 2 checkbook managers to a certain extent. But again, I've said it before in a couple of videos, it's all about the uncertainty for me. It just worries me. I don't like that. I like to know where we're going. And like I said, with Conte, at the beginning of the season, I was having a conversation with someone, and I said that I thought that Conte would leave at the end of the season regardless, and that the only thing that might keep us with him would be if we were doing well and we were getting Champions League again, and then he might then have more funds given to buy more players that he actually wants, and so on. But so I always thought that he would go, because I didn't think that we'd back him in the way that he wanted to be backed. But I was hoping that we would get a longer term plan. The instability that we've had since Pochettino left is not helping. It's not helping this football club at all. And the constant change that clubs have is a nightmare. I go back. I literally, before YouTube and stuff, I remember I used to listen to. I don't listen to it as much as I used to be fair, and that's not their fault. It's probably my fault. But I used to listen to the Fighting Cock podcast a lot, and you could actually write articles and stuff and send them in, and they put them on their blog and stuff. So I did a couple of those, and one of the things that I talked about all the way back then, and I'm going back probably 10 years, believe it or not, was about the instability of managers, and how the managers with best performance were always the ones that had a good amount of time at a club. I mean, it don't always work out like that, obviously, and at the time we were talking about Ferguson, who'd been backed and had the stability, even when he had a bit of a difficult time initially. Wenger was at Arsenal, and obviously the success that he'd had and the amount of time he'd been there. And the other one was Moyes, who was at Everton, and I think he'd had something like 10 years there or something. And whilst they'd not won stuff, he'd taken them from constant relegation fodder to a team that were on the up, and that actually had some good results and good finishes and stuff, and were stable and secure financially and so on. I mean, all that's changed, obviously, but at the time they were the long-standing manager, so I thought it was a really good analogy. And I still think that. I mean, Pochettino had his best spell with us because he was with us for a decent amount of time. The problem with that is it went stale. It went stale, and he didn't get what he wanted. I think he overachieved. And at the point, if instead of sacking him and wasting the money that we've wasted on players and managerial sackings and stuff, if we'd have perhaps had a vision of really trying to push that further forwards, who knows what could have happened, right? And it's all what ifs, but you get my point. Especially if we go back to him. If we go back to Pochettino, I mean, what does that say, really? And I can't see Daniel Levy doing it because I'm sure his pride won't let him. But yeah, so for me, stability is what I think we're lacking, and maybe that's why we are trying to stick with Paratici in terms of his recruitment processes, and the people he's got, his connections, and so on. And I guess we'll just have to see. But like I said, it really depends on what his ban actually looks like in reality. What does that look? Is he allowed to go to the club? Is he allowed to be involved at all, or is he literally banned from everything? I don't know. I don't know the answers. I haven't really looked into it. I've been away from home the last couple of days working, so I haven't had a chance to really get into it. But yeah, so another day, another disaster, and we are, a laughing stock. Everyone's loving it. So, but we'll see where we get on, and we'll move on, and I'll leave you there. Up the Spurs.